On a beautiful day at Buckingham Palace, where tourists from all over the world gather to witness the changing of the royal guards, a woman who sees herself as entitled is about to face an important lesson on respect. Unlike the other tourists, she fails to understand that sometimes not everything you want can be easily achieved just because of money or status. This is the story of Karen, an arrogant woman who pays no attention to what's happening around her until she faces the consequences of her disrespect for tradition and rules. This isn't just a story about an incident at a famous tourist destination. It's a lesson about respecting traditional values and the duties carried out by public servants. The scene at Buckingham Palace that morning was nothing short of impressive. Tourists from around the world gathered, the sunlight shining on the ancient buildings, and in this atmosphere, a ceremony of the changing of the guards was about to begin. Karen, a woman dressed in designer athletic wear, stepped out of a luxury car, drawing all eyes to herself. She didn't look like a typical tourist. With a dismissive expression, she gazed over the crowd, as though she were the only one deserving of special treatment. Despite the orderly queue of people patiently waiting, Karen barged past them, unconcerned for others. "Excuse me, I'm in a hurry," she said, her tone defiant as she shoved an elderly couple aside. "Ma'am, the queue starts back there," a palace attendant politely informed her. But Karen ignored him, not even glancing his way. "Do you know who I am?" she continued, her voice dripping with arrogance. "I'm not standing in line like some common tourist. I have a lunch reservation at the Ritz in 40 minutes. The attendant maintained his calm. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but for security reasons, all visitors must queue up in an orderly fashion." Karen laughed dismissively. "Security?" She waved her hand towards the palace gates. "Those soldiers are just actors. This whole ceremony is just a tourist trap." This dialogue made the atmosphere tense. Several tourists exchanged disapproving glances at Karen's arrogance. While Karen remained standing, thinking she was the center of attention, a family from Australia approached, with their children eagerly pointing at the royal guards in the distance. They were curious and waiting for an impressive moment. Karen noticed them and immediately blocked their way. "Sorry, I'm not finished here," she said, her tone condescending. "You can wait." The parents, looking confused, exchanged glances. "We've been waiting all morning to see the ceremony," the father said gently, yet persistently. Karen shrugged. "Too bad," she said sarcastically, "but I don't have time to wait. The kids can wait a bit longer." As the confrontation continued, the distant sound of drums began to echo, signaling that the changing of the guards was about to begin. However, Karen remained firmly planted in her spot, with no intention of moving. She continued to fiddle with her phone, taking pictures, completely ignoring the growing unease around her. Then, a veteran wearing a blazer adorned with campaign medals stepped forward. He looked at her sternly and said, "You need to move back. The guards will be coming through here soon." Karen looked at him and sneered. "What guards? Those people in red costumes? They're not real workers." The veteran could no longer stay silent. "You don't understand. These are real soldiers, not actors. This is their job." Her words didn't faze Karen. She shook her head and continued snapping photos, indifferent to the warnings around her. The sound of the drums and military music grew louder, reverberating through the ancient streets of Buckingham Palace. The tension in the air was palpable, as if you could feel each step of the royal guards advancing. The tourists around, waiting for the ceremony, glanced anxiously at Karen, but she remained unaffected. She stood there, her legs planted like pillars, showing no sign of moving. It seemed she had decided that whatever she wanted would be done, regardless of anything else. The crowd stood still. Only the steady footsteps of the guards moving closer could be heard. People started to feel something was off. Palace security was standing nearby, watching the situation unfold, but had yet to intervene. A voice rang out from afar. "You need to move now. The guards will not stop." Karen raised her phone higher, her hand firmly gripping it, her gaze still looking forward as though everything around her didn't matter. "What? You think I'll move for these soldiers just because of a march?" she mocked, her tone challenging. "What role do they play in society? Are they real soldiers?" A man, a veteran, stepped forward, his eyes steady as he looked at Karen. "This is not a game, ma'am. These are soldiers. They are doing their duty, and you need to move." Karen scoffed, shaking her head. "Duty? What duty? They just stand there. There's no duty worth respecting." She waved her hand dismissively at the guards as though she were swatting them away. "I don't have time for this nonsense. No one can make me move." The atmosphere became increasingly tense. People around began to feel uneasy. The whispers and gentle advice couldn't change Karen's mind. Some even stepped back, shaking their heads in disbelief at her arrogant and unacceptable behavior. The guards were getting closer, the sound of their military march unmistakable. Leading the unit was Guard Windsor, maintaining perfect posture, looking as if there was no hint of hesitation in his steps. The entire unit, with flawless precision, moved toward Karen, unaffected and unshaken by her defiance. Despite repeated warnings, Karen remained unmoved. She even stood firmer, as if awaiting a confrontation. The palace security's voice rang out again. "You need to move immediately, or we will have to intervene." Karen didn't respond. She just kept raising her phone higher. "I'm not moving. Who are they to order me around?" she shouted, her voice full of fury. "They're just actors in costumes. I won't let them make me move, no way." The tension reached its peak. The royal guards showed no sign of stopping, their march growing louder as they closed the distance. When they were only a few feet away, Karen still stood firm, staring into her phone, her defiant stance making it clear she wouldn't back down. "This is a public space," Karen screamed. "I'm a paying customer, and I have every right to stand here. They must respect me." But Windsor didn't alter his path. He looked at her with determination in his eyes, unwavering. And then, the collision was inevitable. As Windsor and the other guards advanced, the collision happened swiftly but precisely. Windsor, with military poise, made a gentle but firm motion to push Karen out of the way. The scene unfolded so quickly that no one had time to react. Karen, still defiant, tried to maintain her balance but was unsuccessful. She was shoved aside and fell to the ground. Her expensive sunglasses flew off, and her phone was sent tumbling to the ground with a sharp crack. "Oh no!" Karen screamed as she writhed on the ground, rage building up inside her. "How dare you push me? Who do you think you are?" she yelled, her face flushed with anger. But the reality was, she had been warned multiple times. Meanwhile, Windsor continued his march without turning back. The rest of the guards followed, their presence unshaken and dignified. Karen scrambled to stand, clutching her injured hand, her eyes still unable to comprehend what had just happened. They hit me," she yelled, pointing at Windsor. "Did you see? They attacked me. They assaulted me." Some tourists who had witnessed the entire event shook their heads. A few others, holding their phones, began recording the incident. No one seemed surprised. The guards had done what they were supposed to do. As Karen attempted to call the police, a palace security officer approached her, trying to maintain calm. "Ma'am, you've been warned several times," he said in a neutral tone. "You refused to move and obstructed the guard's duty." Karen still couldn't accept the reality. "What are they?" she shouted. "They're just actors, not real soldiers. What right do they have to attack me like that?" The officers, having heard her words, weren't swayed by her excuses. They had dealt with similar situations before. One officer looked at Karen and said, "Multiple witnesses have reported that you deliberately blocked the path and refused to move." Tourists around her began to murmur, no longer offering sympathy for Karen. She started to realize that she was now the subject of criticism and no one was supporting her. Karen still couldn't accept that her arrogance had led to such consequences. But the lesson of respect and patience had been made abundantly clear. The royal guards weren't just actors, as she had claimed. They were real soldiers who had dedicated their lives to serving their country, performing their duty with devotion and discipline. Karen's story was a clear example of never underestimating traditional values or the people who serve the public. She not only learned a lesson about military discipline, but also had to face the downfall of her own arrogance. The lesson here is simple. None of us are above the values that have been upheld for centuries. The royal guards, with their discipline and sense of duty, are not mere performers, as Karen thought. They are real soldiers who have sacrificed much and continue to protect the legacy of their country. It's this respect and discipline that help keep the nation strong. Respecting the work of others, no matter what they do, brings about better outcomes. From this story, I want to emphasize one important thing. We should never judge others just by their appearance, nor should we evaluate their work simply because we don't fully understand its true value. Every person has an important role to play in society, and every job, big or small, holds its own unique value. Karen's story at Buckingham Palace wasn't just about a confrontation between a woman and the royal guards. It's a profound lesson about respect, patience, and understanding our place in society. We can clearly see that sometimes arrogance doesn't just harm others. It harms the person displaying it as well. Karen, with all her perceived power and privileges, lost her chance to be respected. She disrespected people she considered beneath her, but in the end, it was she who had to pay the price for her attitude. The lesson is clear. None of us are above the traditional values, especially those that have been maintained for centuries. The royal guards, with all their discipline and sense of duty, are not actors, as Karen thought. They are real soldiers who have sacrificed and continue to preserve the great legacy of the country. It is their respect and dedication to their duties that has helped keep this country strong. Respecting the work of others, no matter their job, will always bring better results. I want to emphasize this. We should never judge others based on appearances, nor should we undermine their work simply because we don't fully understand its value. Every person plays an important role in society, and every job, no matter how big or small, has its own value. We need to learn to respect those around us, no matter who they are or what job they have, and regardless of whether they are serving in any field. Don't let arrogance or self-importance cloud our vision, making us lose sight of the essential values of patience, respect, and gratitude. Every person has a unique contribution, and we, as citizens of this society, have the responsibility to protect those values and help those who are doing important work. Remember, no amount of power or money can replace the basic values of self-respect and respect for others. A lesson like this, no matter how costly, will surely help us grow and become more responsible individuals in society. So next time you encounter someone doing their job, whether it's a guard, a security officer, or a server at a cafe, remember that they are all doing meaningful work and deserve our respect. Thank you so much for staying with us throughout this story. This is not just a tale of a confrontation between a woman and the royal guards, but a deeper lesson about patience, respect, and humility. These values aren't just part of ancient traditions. They are also extremely important in our everyday lives. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story. What do you think about Karen's actions? Do you believe she deserved the lesson she got? And what can we all learn from her arrogance? Leave your comments below and share your thoughts with the community. Your feedback is really important and helps us bring you more engaging and meaningful stories. If you found this story thought-provoking and want to share these valuable lessons with your friends, don't forget to hit the like button and share this video. We truly appreciate your support. And don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Moments 85 so you never miss the emotional stories and life lessons we bring in future videos. Just click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to get notified whenever we upload new content. Together, we'll build a community where everyone can learn and inspire each other. Thank you so much for being with us. Keep sharing your own stories, and we will continue bringing you exciting and valuable content. See you in the next video.